Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to the replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the vault, episode 387, irrevocable versus revocable trust. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. Trust Christian own nothing, control everything. And this episode is catered towards a lot of the newcomers that come to the vault. They ask about the question. They ask questions about the topics that we talk about, and clear up some misconceptions. When they're going to compare the training program, trustee training program, to what their lawyers talking about, or lawyers that they may be interviewing for their family estate. So this is going to be a classic episode for people to have a comparison to the lawyers that they're talking to. This is obviously not intended to be legal advice. It's not intended to be financial advice. We're going to be talking about what we know. We're going to talk about what we talk to lawyers about and moving forward in this area. So, appreciate Mississippi for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate Mississippi for tuning in live, listening to replay. Irrevocable versus revocable trust. And this is where a lot of people say, well, what's the difference between public and private? This is probably one of the more clear distinctions of what public and private is, because we get so many people that come to the vault. They say, oh, I have a trust. They say, oh, I was put in a trust, but they don't know whether it is revocable or irrevocable. Then you'll get quite a few people that say, okay, well, I'm in an irrevocable situation, but when we ask them, well, who's the grantor? There's minimal information that's given. Some organizations set it up for them, things of that nature. So today we're going to address those things. We're going to talk about it, especially from the both sides. When we talk about the revocable side, it's one of those things like you're sitting here talking to a public attorney. You ask them to put you in trust. They don't know a proprietary method. So what do? They go out and create a trust, and you're the grantor, and you're the trustee, and possibly they're the trustee somewhere, or they're the successor trustee somewhere. But nevertheless, they created a trust document for you. You're the trustee, but you're the grantor as well, meaning that it's basically still yours. Any assets you give away to the trust, they're still yours. There's no separation of ownership. Why? Because you created the trust, and not only did you create it revocably, because if you decided to terminate it as a trustee, who's the assets going to go back to? Is it going to be the grantor or you? Is it going to be the beneficiary? Who is the beneficiary? When we talk to these people that reach out to the vault and they say, oh, I had a trust created for me, are you the beneficiary? Most people don't know who the beneficiary are. Or well, my children are going to be the beneficiary. Okay. So how does that take them out of a position where they're not going to be liable? Are you aware of inheritance tax? Are you aware of estate tax? Are you aware of gift tax? Even if you try to gift them assets, are you aware of those things? What's the point of giving somebody something and the state comes after, or somebody comes after and grabs more than what they already grabbed after the first time? So when we talk about the irrevocable, we are talking about that private proprietary method. When we're talking about the irrevocable, we are talking about once you put assets in, you're not able to take assets back out. We just got a phone call today, you know, from somebody reaching out saying, oh, I put the assets in a trust, in an irrevocable trust, but I took the assets back out in my personal name. First of all, that's called self-dealing. Now, if you're not smart, it's only two things you can't do in trust: self-deal and commingle funds. So first of all, if you put assets in an irrevocable trust, they're no longer your assets. So you can't say, well, I put the assets in the irrevocable trust, but they're still my assets. So for all y'all that's messing with these internet gurus, or you're messing with people that don't have the proper information, First of all, if you put assets in a trust, it's no longer your assets. Period. It's no longer your assets. One second, everybody. All right. So once again, the irrevocable trust. When we're talking about irrevocables, you know, when you put assets in the entity, once again, not legal advice, not financial advice. This is the information you need to know when you're talking to the lawyer if you're going to get them to set this up. Because why? Why is it that you're going to go talk to a lawyer? They're going to tell you, oh, you could place your assets inside of the trust. And then you think, oh, well, I could just take the assets out and put them inside of, I could take the assets back out and they're going to be in my name and think everything's okay. Really? Are you familiar with self-dealing? Do you need the definition of self-dealing? Do you need the definition of commingling funds? Because that's what's going to get the corporate veil pierced. So when you're sitting out here talking about, oh, I own the trust or the assets in the trust are mine, or I'm going to take the assets out the trust and put them back in my name, we already going to give y'all the one-on-one. We're going to give y'all the end quotes. This is the end quotes from a lawyer. Wish we were recorded that day. This is what the lawyer said. Had a client on the phone. He says, just wanted to reach out to you because I have a client on the line and they want to put assets in an irrevocable trust. But I made them aware that once they put the assets in the trust, they won't be able to get the assets back out the trust. So they think they're protecting the client by saying you can't get the assets back out the trust. But what benefit is it to take the assets out of their name to another position and then give them the ability to put it back in their name and put themselves in a position? Well, guess what? Hey, you ready? You ready for the shake and the skinny? They're gonna need you again. That's what the lawyer was saying. If you put it in an irrevocable trust, you won't need me again. But if you leave it in a position of a revocable trust, you'll need me again. Why? Because when you want to dissolve the trust, when the trust is ready to be dissolved, guess what? You're gonna be coming back to me. Because you never really gave up control of the assets. You actually never gave up ownership of the assets. All we did was create maybe a constructive entity, constructive trust or something like that. It's a public trust, something like that. Because I'm a public attorney doing conventional wisdom mentality. That's what. I need you to come back to me. That's what. That's what the lawyer was saying. The attorney was saying. Irrevocable trust. Why would I want to put the assets in irrevocable trust when I'm never going to be able to get the assets back in my name if something happens? The trust is a person. What could happen? Well, the trust could go insolvent. And guess what? That's actually the best thing. Because if it goes insolvent in your name, if assets go insolvent in your name, isn't that reflected upon your personal, not the business? The trust is a business, not a personal. It's a person, but it's a business person. Your personal is personal. But that's what the lawyer was talking to them about. So they were just contacting us to say, hey, tell this person that, we're going to basically be there to cover them and wipe their butt if they're not in the correct position. Which is, oh, they commingle some funds. Might have to dissolve the trust. Oh, well, they tried to self-deal. They got to dissolve the trust. See, in an irrevocable situation, you can't do those things. Self-dealing, commingling funds, there is no getting your assets back. See, when you come in a true trusteeship, when you come in a trustee training, you learn the truth. You learn that you're never a owner of assets. You're a steward. You're a trustee. You're a manager. It doesn't matter if it's a business. It doesn't matter if it's a piece of gold, a piece of silver, a diamond, a pearl, a vehicle, a piece of art. You never truly own it. See, they put these revocable entities, these public entities in play because they know most people, they got this itch. It's called ownership. And they need to scratch it all the time. They need to say that they own cars. They need to say that they own their diamond rings. They need to say that they own clothes. They need to say that they own a house. So they got a revocable trust for you. Put the house in a revocable trust. Put the house in a land trust. Well, who is the grantor? Who created it? In an irrevocable sense, how can you create the trust and still be the trustee? See, the lawyers know that. That's why we have a proprietary situation at the vault, because the lawyers don't use that method. Why would they? You the one that's hiring them. You're hiring a lawyer that just graduated. You're hiring an old timer that's been doing the same thing for 20 and 30 years, basically getting people to go through probate, whether it's a will or he's guess what, or she's guess what. They're touching them as soon as they get in a revocable trust. As soon as they pass away, who was the trustee? Who was the successor trustee? Was it the children? No, the assets are supposed to go to the children. That's a revocable trust. They over here trying to give the assets to the children. What do you think the lawyer's about to get paid off? Estate tax, probate tax. You think they're not getting a cut? You think they're not going to get a cut for managing and dispersing the assets, dissolving the trust? They know what they're doing, but they don't know what we're doing at the vault. They don't understand the importance of not passing the assets directly to your children. Y'all look in the public at these fools all the time that is saying, "Oh, I'm gonna give the assets to my kids," but you don't hear Warren Buffett say that. Warren Buffett said, "I'm gonna give it to charity." Warren Buffett's not giving assets directly to his children because he understands there's a tax liability associated with that. Inheritance tax, estate tax, gift tax, death tax. He knows these things. But you see all these different celebrities and goofballs over the internet. "Oh man, I'm gonna go out here and I'm just gonna, I'm gonna create a trust for my family." But it's over 80 different plus type of trusts. So which one you gonna get? Which one's the right one? "Well, I didn't really know that. I thought the lawyer was gonna put me on notice about all 80. Really? You're hiring them. They work for you. They supposed to draft what you asked them to draft. But most people don't know about this space, so they think they can come over this space. They think they can listen to a couple podcasts over the internet, and they're going to be fine. That's why you reach out for a consultation. That's why you get the consultation, so you can walk into a situation with them aware of the conversation that should and could be had. Appreciate the Bronx for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate the Bronx for tuning in live, listen, replay. Appreciate OKC for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate OKC for tuning in live, listening to replay. Once again, revocable versus irrevocable. "Oh man, the assets are in the trust. I was thinking about maybe taking them out of the trust." For what? The trust is a person. The whole purpose is to get rid of liabilities. But guess what? Just like we did an episode on your greatest asset equals liability, you're your greatest liability. Because you're the trustee or you're the grantor. And you don't know how to operate as what? The trustee. You don't know how to operate as a manager. So while you being the greatest asset, going out here and generating all this money, you're your greatest liability. Because you got things in your name. And we talk to entrepreneurs about this all the time. They got all these assets in their name. "Oh, I got assets. I got assets. I got the house. I got my businesses." And they're all in your name. It's nothing but a document. The trust is a document, but it's a person. Because it can hold multiple assets. And it changes the liability. It shifts the liability. That's what it shifts. The liability is not on you. But maybe it is in a revocable trust. Why? Because you never really gave up control and you never gave up ownership. "Oh man, I'm not trying to hear that, Trust Christian in the vault. I did give it up because I put it inside of this entity that the lawyers didn't really put me up on to let me know that basically this is still a personal entity." Why? Because I created it and I'm the trustee still. That's why. That's why they reach out to the vault and get consultations. That's why they reach out and go through the trustee training. because they need a thorough understanding of what's going on, not being told half truths and half lies. It's the same thing. It's half the information. You got to get the information that pertains to your situation. Just like you hired a lawyer, hired an accountant, you got to hire somebody to be in a position to give you more education, to give you more information. Oh man, I don't know if I want to pay for that. Don't worry. The private side is not going to miss you. The irrevocable side is private. Why? Because the grantor can no longer come around. It's irrevocable. That means the grantor can't come back and change things. But on your revocable side, looks like they were changing things, huh? Looks like you could change things in a revocable situation, right? Oh man, I didn't really think about that. The lawyer that I'm working with, they didn't really educate me on that type of stuff. That wasn't their job. They work for you. You hired them. People don't want to hear that though. Oh man, that's true. I did hire them, but they didn't tell me all the information. Maybe because you didn't know to ask. Just admit it. You didn't know to ask. And that's fair. But at the end of the day, we're letting y'all know there's difference between revocable and irrevocable. You want to know the difference. Not only do you want to know the difference, you want to know how to operate within those two. Because they're not the same. Who's the grantor? Who's the beneficiaries? Do you know these things? For all these people out here talking about, oh, I set up a trust and I set up an irrevocable trust to own my government name. What are you talking about? You set up a what? An irrevocable trust, but you own your name still? The trust is supposed to own your government name? People still reach out to the vault to this day asking about some daggone UCC stuff. Talking about some irrevocable trust that the government set up for them. Some SelfDealing trust that they think they're going to get some free money off, which is straight bogus information. It's like when you think about an internet con man, all you got to think about them is just telling you that there's something for nothing. Oh, you can get something from the government for free. It sounds like welfare. You can get the discharge ability for free. Sounds like welfare. Oh man, your birth certificate is worth some money. Sounds like welfare. What about your estate? What about the private family trust? Is that worth some money? Does it have assets in it? That's the difference. Is it revocable or irrevocable? That's the difference. Man, I got to think about that. I got to think about whether it's revocable or irrevocable. I got to go look at the paperwork. Somebody drew it up for me and they didn't really tell me that. Exactly. And once you can admit that somebody just drafted it up and they didn't tell you all the details, then you'll be fine. You can move forward. But this is the difference between being public and private. See, in the private, we got mentors. Just like the workshop that we got coming up this weekend, that we got trustees at once again. This is the difference. The people in the room said they got to make sure that they stay on top of their trustee training. Y'all don't even understand how much it costs to be in trustee training or go through a training program in the public, because they're at top tier schools. But most people don't. Oh, I want to go private. I want to have my family in a trustee training program. What side? The public or the private? We're the private trustee training program. Even the schools in the public are public. Doesn't mean you can't meet people there. Doesn't mean you don't network there. People do all that in those programs. That's what those programs are for. It's to connect people that are going to be future trustees of an estate inside of an institution. Bottom line. It's literally what it is. So, definitely want to do this episode about the irrevocable and the revocable, because people reach out all the time and we let you know you at least got to look through your documentation. Even when you're going out and you're not going to use the vault. For trustee training, you at least got to go and talk to somebody that knows exactly what they're talking about. Hey, are you going to set up a revocable or irrevocable trust for our family? Who's going to be the grantor? Who's going to be the trustees? Some people say, oh man, Trust Christian Vault, won't you do a webinar for this? No, we're not doing webinars. We don't need cheap money. Oh man, do something for a couple $100. Please, get out of here. That's not even gonna get you a day at the spa. Like, stop playing with yourself. This is an environment where you have to invest in your family education for generations to come. Wealthy people buy information that they don't have. If you intend on or plan on being wealthy, you got to invest in your education. Bottom line, it's not going to be free. It's not going to be cheap. There's no bottom dollar discounts. It's none of that stuff. Appreciate Broward County for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate Broward County for tuning in live, listening to replay. Irrevocable versus irrevocable trust. This is one of those subjects where people say, oh man, I'm going to go get this document off the internet. I'm going to go get an express trust. Why y'all think we got it spelled the way we got it spelled in the title where the V is capital? Because they try to say that the public trusts are expressed. But the private ones, how are they expressed? Is that expressed through paper? Or is it expressed through words? Is the word written on paper? People come to us all the time. Oh, I got a 9-8 number. Trust Christian in the vault. I got a 9-8 number. I got a 9-8 number, but I know I'm still not in the program yet. I got a 9-8 number. What you got a 9-8 number for? These people be talking about stuff like they hear this stuff over the internet. Then when they come to the straight raw, the straight truth platform, oh man, I gotta tighten up. Yeah, you gotta tighten up. Cause you let these guys sell you a bunch of wolf tickets. Oh man, I'm just gonna get me a 9-8 number and I gotta trust. Y'all know how many people contacted us throughout the years talking about they got a 9-8 number. So what? You still not even a trustee. You got a 9-8 number and you got a job. What's the benefit? What are you controlling as a trustee? They're worried about the wrong stuff. I'm going to get a 9-8 number. What does that have to do with you being a trustee? Well, I'm going to get a 9-8 number so I can create this trust so I can go out and own my birth certificate. So I can get my birth certificate authenticated. So I could be a what? What are you going to be for the document? Who's the grantor of the trust that your birth certificate's in? Who's the trustee? Who's the beneficiary? Oh man, I think I'm all of them, Trust Christian involved. And that's why you're still in the public. Because it's called Trust Christian, know nothing, control everything. That's what it's called. Oh man, well, I'm not trying to say that I created the trust. I'm looking to get the real documents. We done told you I can go to the law library and go get the public document. Y'all can get a revocable trust from the law library. The lawyer's charging people anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 plus. California, $2,000 plus to create a document that's sitting at the daggone law library. The revocable trust documents are sitting at the law library. You go do it and then take it to the lawyer and say, I need you to look over it. Pay him a couple $100 for lunch. Pay him a couple $100 for dinner. A couple $100 sounds a little bit less than, thousands, but then on the back of it, it's still public. It's provided at the public law library. Why you think the irrevocable is so valuable? Because it's private. And that's why you got to go through private trustee training. That's it. Look forward to seeing y'all at the workshop. The ones that's coming. Look forward to seeing people at the trustee training while it's still going. Christian@trustchristian.com is where you can reach out. Once again, that's Christian@trustchristian.com. Otherwise, take this episode, make it a point to really go and say, okay, one is public and one is private. Let me figure it out. Look forward to hearing from y'all. Peace.